SimWorld presents Around the Table with E and the Fat Man.
What's up, everybody? It's me, it's the B.O.B., and I am here with my man E. How are you doing today?
Hey, I'm right here with you, Bob. Glad to be here. Glad to be getting into all of these commitments and signings that we've seen happening after a couple crazy weeks in SimWorld.
Absolutely. For those that don't know, yesterday was the end of the commitment craze. Now we're heading into the last chance kind of phase. We got a couple things coming up. McDonald's All-American game. We got the unsigned hype coming up. We got a whole lot going on. But before we get into all that, this is Around the Table with E and the Fat Man. That is E. I am the Fat Man. This is the podcast that we talk about whatever we want. So today, with the commitment craze being over, which ended last night at 11 o'clock, I guess we can talk about, now that I guess we can't say all teams are solidified because there are still some with some open spots, but generally we see what teams are going to be next year. So I think we can talk a little bit about...
There is the last chance coming up, like you said, Bob. And, for both teams and players, if you don't have a date for the prom, there's still a few minutes left. Go ask somebody. Make it happen. But, time running out. A lot of these teams, look, and there can still be some more movement. But, most teams have most of their lineup set at this point, I feel. So a lot happened during the craze to cover.
Yeah, we could talk about it, and I think it's a good topic for today that we could talk about our favorite overrated, underrated landing spots for some of these kids. Some of the new recruits that came in, some of the old heads that changed teams. I think that, and well, you obviously thought it too because you came up with the topic, but I think this would be a great topic for us to start the week on.
Yeah, should I kick it off, Bob? Should I just jive right in and get going?
You go ahead and give us some bad news first. What do you think is an overrated landing spot?
Yeah, this is kind of a funny one, but I'm going to just kind of do it the best I can here because it's not that this kid ended up in a bad spot, and it's not that he's a bad fit for his team. It's not even that he's overrated necessarily. He's got real talent, but I'm going to say overexposed, and the player I am talking about is none other than Sun Chung-gu. Newly added to Asia Pacific, was looking to come to G5. Now, look, I think a lot of people have seen Sun's videos and seen all the talk about him. I don't know if everybody realizes a couple things about him. And number one, he's not a giant. He's 6'3", 200. He's got good size for the kind of guard wing sort of, prototype that he is. But he's also 15 years old and really raw is the truth. To be honest, those highlight reel stuff that you're seeing happening in the scrimmage games and in those videos, he's doing that all on pure athletic ability, and I admire his athletic ability. I wish I had a tenth of it. My life might have been a little bit different that way. But he still is just flat out raw in the other aspects of his game, offense, defense, positioning, just kind of a lot there. He's got a lot to learn. And again, he's just 15 years old. How much do we expect of a 15-year-old kid? He's going to be good. He's the Korean highlight reel, and we're going to get a nice highlight tape at the end of the next season, provided he can play, which is another thing, which I'm not even kind of figuring in right now. But assuming he does, again, it's not like I don't like this player. It's not like I don't like this fit on APAC. But I almost feel kind of bad for Sun because I feel like the expectations for him have just gotten ratcheted up so high. And if you actually kind of take a little bit of a closer look at the kid, it's unfair. He's just not going to be that transformative player as a 15-year-old coming into season 2 in SimWorld. At least that's my opinion. So again, don't think it's a bad fit, but I think that you're going to be talking a lot more about Jinsong Dang, Devin Fields, Le'Veon Fields, all the Fields. You got a whole crew of Fields is on APAC this year, so look out for them. All four of them from Tokyo playing in their hometown too. So Shiro Lee, head coach in APAC, I like the construction he's got here. Again, I love the fact he added Sun. It was a smart move. It was a great move. It was the right move for him. He's not going to show up this year and just be, I don't know, I think some people think like he's Pyongyang's Lace Darius Outlaw, and he's just going to roll into SimWorld and do damage like that, and he's not. He's just not. Give him a couple years. Give him a couple years, and I could revise this opinion dramatically. But I will be surprised if he hasn't gotten so hyped that people don't see him as a little bit of a disappointment once he actually hits the court in meaningful games this year.
I think what people have to remember, too, is Asia Pacific brought back 3 of their most talented players as well. 4, if we add in Deng for his race to 1 performance, because he really he threw himself on the map with that performance. Unfortunately, they didn't bring George back if that happens, but they have Victor Soto, Kai Newby, and JD Reyes all returning. They brought in
all had great years last year.
Absolutely. They were huge parts of that team, and then, like you said, they brought in the Fields I don't want to. Jeez, I can't even say the word. I don't even know. Quadruple. The quadruple fields.
Quad
there we go.
Cool,
the quad fields. The field quads. Whatever. They brought all 4 of them in. I just think I believe that Sun Chung-gu is exactly what he has shown us in the pickup games, but he's not just going to immediately be given the keys to the team when you already have like the Victor Sotos, the Kai Newbies, and JD Reyes is returning. So while the talent is there is I feel like we could run into another Bay Area type situation where, they had talent from 1 to 10, but you're not going to see really anybody in particular stand out. Obviously, Trey Hyman stood out for them because he did everything, and he was such a defensive menace as well. But they just have so much talent on SimWorld Asia Pacific. I think they're the clear top international team. But
I kind of think so too. Yeah, I'm glad you said that, Bob, because I wanted to make that comment as well. If you look at that returning talent, you got Sun on the team, you added Oliver West, and of course you have the Fields foursome. Oh, maybe that works because the alliteration.
There we go.
Fields foursome. I like it. I agree. Right now, they are my favorite international team. At this point in the off season too.
Yeah. Well, let me. I'll switch gears. I'll switch gears and I'll take the wheel here, and I am going to go, and I know people are going to say that it's because I hate them, I don't like them. There is no reason other than I'm just going to jump right into it. I think that Corey Yams, all the hype that has been given to him joining H-Town, last season, I feel like he was given so much media attention, but wasn't necessarily doing anything. And that is, there are people that have to create their own media hype, and he did that. And then the media ran with it. And there are people there are just players that are going to be like that all throughout the world. And I think that he specifically benefited from hyping himself up and talking about himself so much that the media latched onto it, because then you have those quiet players and even coaches. So I will just using coaches as an example. Nobody ever remembers about the Originators coach Dodge. When they talk about top coaches, they don't talk about her being a top coach because
I do.
You do. But most people, including players, just forget about her. Why? Because she's not always she doesn't make those outrageous comments in the media. I mean, there was a situation last season where she did, but then it was like it just disappeared after like a day or two. And it's like a player like Corey Yams, if he wasn't hyping himself up and putting himself in the media, we wouldn't be talking about him as much. I'm not saying that he's not talented. He can be a decent defender. But he's offensively, he's not there right now. And just defensively, though, I could probably, just from last season, there were 10 players, big-wise, that I could probably name that I would rather take over him. And it doesn't have anything to do with his talent or anything. Again, he's hyped himself so much that the media, all of us, we've bought into it. And I'm just here to call it out for that. I think that as much as people talk about, whenever they talk about H-Town and Lone Star rivalry. Oh, it's Arthur Lattimore versus Corey Yams. It's not Arthur Lattimore versus Corey Yams. If anybody, it's Arthur Lattimore versus J-Mo or Vincent Magic or Keithan Carter. There's so many more pure talented players on that team. Corey Yams he's going to make himself the face of the team because he's Corey Yams. He's probably going to mail out some yams throughout the season. You're going to get some yams in the mailbox. You're going to, a whole lot. If people even mail things anymore.
J-Mo might have something to say about that, but, Corey Yams, to his credit in a way, has done a good job of kind of, look, it's part of the kind of game and it's kind of the world we live in now, right? Like where, he has a good sort of media presence and personality. And gets kind of talked up accordingly. And you're right, maybe more so than other kind of similar players. Because look, Yams is a very good defender, but as you pointed out, I won't disagree that he's offensively limited. And you know what? I'll actually even add in that he's got great size, but Yams isn't necessarily a natural pure athlete. He just uses that 6'9", 225-pound frame really well. It's interesting if you look at H-Town, by the way, and we've been, talking about how things can be funny fits too. And really H-Town with Maury Washington and Tyrell Thompson in particular, has a couple other players that are sort of similar to what Yams does. Thompson might actually have the more all-around game at this point. So It'll be interesting to see, H-Town, has a array of sort of big post defenders down there to throw at you. It'll be interesting to see how they end up matching up with Lone Star in the Battle of Texas. Oh, and a quick aside that has nothing to do with anything, but I think we have to throw Gulf Coast into the Battle of Texas this year. I know obviously they are next door in the state of Louisiana, but that team is primarily made up of Texans. There's again a lot of Texas talent which is spilled over the borders of the Lone Star State and into other places. And I think Gulf Coast is almost an honorary Texas team this year. But to get back to Corey Yams and that H-Town fit, I like a call out by you on it here, Bob, because H-Town, probably going to be a good team. We all expect big things from Coach Bellardi taking over there. Corey Yams, a good, solid player in addition to that team, a positive one at that. But the roster construction on this team looks a little bit shaky at this point. And right, at the end of the day, how much more do you get out of Corey Yams than you don't get out of the less heralded Maury Washington, who's already on an H-Town squad too? So, I guess that's why they play the games and make us look foolish later.
Absolutely.
But on paper, I'm with you. Yeah.
Well, let's let me switch and be a little bit more positive here. We'll go with
switch gears.
Yeah, well, let's switch gears and add in I'll add in a underrated signing.
Oh, okay. Underrated. I like. Okay, yeah. All right. We're gonna flip gears here. We're gonna go positive. I like it.
Yeah. We'll make a sandwich, but we'll do a negative sandwich.
Okay.
I'm gonna stick with H-Town for my underrated pick. And I am also going to go with Corey Yams as an underrated signing.
What? All right. Backtrack and explain.
As overrated as I think he is, Coach Bellardi is going to make him look like a star. I think that Coach Bellardi is going to look what he did with, again, I'm always going to jump back to that season 1 SJO and CMJ. You see what he did with them two. They were nobody. They were no names. True. They were no names before the season started. And I think that Coach Bellardi is going to make Corey Yams look significantly better than he is based off of his coaching style. And I think that while right now it is completely overrated for us to be talking about Corey Yams the way that we are, I think that by the end of the season, it's going to be looked at as an underrated and slept-on signing strictly because of the head coach, Tim Bellardi.
Interesting. I did not see this coming at all, Bob. I like the little rope-a-dope you did there, going negative on Corey before turning it around positive. Look, I didn't see that coming. I really did not see that coming. But as soon as you said it, and you reminded me of Stephen Johnson Odom and Chance Milton Jones, who were the two players that Coach Bellardi had in season one, the not season one, excuse me, the Ground
Round
Zero
zero, yeah.
season. When he was with the NY Stars. And you're right, both of those players pretty raw. Both of them not that widely regarded coming into the game. And in fact, Gotham, which had some talented players led by Shea King, the one weakness everybody saw in that squad going into the year was they only have these two bigs. And who are they?
Yeah.
What are they going to do? How are they going to hold it?
Well, they showed us.
They did, yeah, they did. They played their way right into high level D1 D1 college
Absolutely.
scholarships and taking off from there. So that is a great point. I like it. I like how you kind of came full circle there. The snake eating its tail thing, all on Corey Yams. It's going yams heavy today, Big Bob. It's like Thanksgiving up in here. All right. Well, I will take it back then because I've got positive, and I'm feeling so positive. I actually have an honorable mention positive that I want to get out there first before I get into the one I'm really saying. And let me throw my honorable mention out there. This one has been discussed somewhat, on the SimWorld Discord. Should mention too, if you're not on the SimWorld Discord, discord.gg/SimWorldNBA. Come on, what's wrong with you? But I really like on another international squad, the off-season edition, Africa. Coach Adebayo pulling in the two Israeli guards, Jordan Kausu and Ethan Letterman Jr., Jordan just 16, Ethan 17, played last year, of course. Both of them sharpshooters. Both of them going to bring a little bit of a different element to an Africa team, which struggled last year, but brings back some real players. Kola Abdul-Rauf coming back. Pierre Dupont, the American, famously decided to stay overseas, stay with Africa. Abraham Kasongo, the big man in the middle. There's some players on this squad. I like these two Israeli guards joining Africa. It's maybe a geographical alignment that not everybody saw coming, but in terms of distance, Nigeria is probably actually closer than London, England, which is where most of the other Israeli talent in this game. I think Atlantis has 3 Israeli players on the squad this year. I think it's a great move in that regard. I think it's a great complementary fit for Africa. I'm really high on those two kids, and I think that they're going to really kind of revive Africa's fortunes this year. But that is just my honorable mention. Because the underrated, unheralded person that I want to, and this guy I have not seen, to my knowledge, when I speak his name here in about 5 seconds, it's going to be the first time he's ever been talked about, really, and he should be, and start now. Queen City Kings, Cairo Windsor, just 15 years old, 6'5", 190 pound. I don't even know what to call him. He can play 4 positions out there on the court. He can be a guard. He can be a wing. He, like Sun Chungu, is just 15 years old. The difference between Cairo and Sun is that whereas Cairo is a tremendous athlete but super raw, Cairo is a tremendous athlete and can do everything on a basketball court. Literally, in my opinion, when we'll see what happens when real games start to come up here. I think he is the most talented player just from a pure raw, ceiling kind of level. I couldn't be any less sky high on Cairo Windsor. I think he is going to be an absolute beast, and I think you're going to see it as soon as this next season coming up, in spite of the fact that he's just 15 years old, and get him a year of experience and more growth and more development under his belt. Look out. I love what Coach Skinny has done in Queen City. The Bryants are there, pulled Carter Fields in, pulled Nick Hugo in. We've all been talking about that all off season, but don't be surprised when it turns out that Cairo Windsor is the real star of this whole bunch. And he may prove it as early as within the next few months when we get going here on this next season. And he definitely will by the time that he's getting ready to move on to college or just jump straight to the G League or pros.
And I think he's really going to benefit from there being such top-heavy talent on the team. I mean, you look at somebody like the Lakers' Hachimura and him having such a great playoff season. Yeah. It's like you have all these bigger names ahead of you that people have to game plan around, AD, LeBron, and they forget about you. And when they forget about you, that's when you make them pay. And I think that Cairo, like you said, he can do not just a little bit of everything. He can do everything, and he can do it. He can do it above average. And when you can do everything at above average, you're going to be a great player. And at only 15 years old, I mean, he's got time to grow. I mean, he's already big. He's 6'5", 187. Imagine him growing 3 or 4 more inches and adding 20 pounds
6'8",
on.
190, 200. You know, I mean, oof,
imagine the monster that he's going to be when he turns 17 years old. As long as he keeps his head, in the game. I mean, you see. I mean, the news broke today. Mackenzie Mbako, now he's facing some misdemeanor charges, all that stuff. I mean, we were dealing with the Mikey Williams. Keep your head on your shoulders. Worry about your future. Don't do dumb stuff. Cairo Windsor could be a potential number 1 overall kid in SimWorld Prep in 2 seasons.
That's right. That's legit.
And
that's his ceiling. He can rise to that level. He really can.
When you can do everything, you can get there, and I can definitely see that from Windsor.
Yeah.
But is there any? I know we each and I want to mention. I do like your honorable mention. I think there's just so much. Everything that Africa did could be an honorable mention. I think they're probably gonna. I think they're gonna be the second best international team next season. Keep retaining DuPont. I don't like that word. I don't like that I just used the word DuPont. Or, geez, I don't like that I used the word. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sick. I can't think. Yes, retaining. I don't like that I used that word. But so Pierre DuPont, him staying there, that is obviously a huge, huge boost. But yeah, Jordan and Ethan Letterman, they should. Africa, they finally have some firepower. Obviously, Fagbenle. I mean, he was a great player, but I mean, he was more of a get to the hoop kind of guy, and they really needed that outside shooting. And I think that is what they are going to. They finally were able to replace that offense that they lost with him. So I think, and Letterman. I mean, I'd say probably he should end up top 5 in 3-pointers made this season. But
Jordan, he could.
Yeah, Jordan. He's a great 3-point shooter that not many people, like you said, not many people are talking about, if any. So, and at only 16, that him and Ethan Letterman could be a very deadly combo. I'm not going to say they're going to be the best backcourt because they haven't
Bad
shown.
Boys have that.
I don't know about that. I don't know if Bad Boys has the best anything.
Ooh, okay. Well, we'll see.
No, but
jump to mind for me.
I would say they're going to have a decent backcourt. The defense is where we're going to have our biggest question marks for Africa, and that was their biggest positive in the Ground Zero season was their defense. And now I feel like they've kind of flipped the script on what type of team they are. They need to make sure that they can stick with that defense or get back into that defensive mind, just with a little bit of firepower now on offense. But I love that honorable mention. I definitely like that. Good. Are there any last minute overrated, underrated that you want to mention, or are you good on that?
I already did my honorable mention, so I shouldn't go too far on anything else. I will say that when I was preparing for the show, I did take a look at the AT Aliens. I think Coach Marcus Wood there has done a nice job restocking the cabinet there too, particularly bringing Royce Anderson in. You know, he's kind of like a 6'6" sort of Sean Livingston-esque point guard in effect. He can play both guard positions, but, or wing position for that matter. But just, I really like his creativity. And, then I also liked, bringing Bevinson Patches in. Bevinson Patches, not a big name. In fact, when most people hear that name, they assume it's a 19th century English storybook character. But actually, no. Bevinson Patches is a talented player, and I like what he brings to this squad as well. Anderson and Patches, I'll give a little bonus comment for those.
Well, there you
Anybody
go.
For you, Bob?
I don't have one, but I can't wait for the season to start. I mean, we're looking at what? We're probably looking at a month and a couple weeks or so for the season to actually start. I know the schedule is going to be announced on Monday. Can't wait for the full schedule.
That's a big one.
But speaking of the schedule, I think we've announced a lot of our marquee games, but I wanted to go ahead and announce one more for December 29th. We will see Coach Lovelace taking on his former team, Lakeshore Drive on December 29th. Heartland will head up to Chicago, and we will see what kind of welcoming that Coach Lovelace is going to get when he lands up there. I mean, he's going to be taking on Rosante Vance, who rightfully terminated Coach Lovelace's contract after that little public spat, I guess we'll call it. But both teams, I think, are extremely talented. We can't go with the foursome, the Fields foursome, but we got the Hilario threesome. It doesn't ring. That doesn't flow off the tongue as much. But I mean, that's like I said. I can't. I hope Heartland and SimWorld Asia Pacific get to play at some point with all 7 of those players. Like, that's just going to be a great game to hear the commentators fumble over who has. But yeah, I mean, Heartland Zombie, they brought in AJ Blaylock from Lakeshore Drive. It was a last minute signing. I think that was a very good signing. And obviously they got Benari James, who should be top 5 player in SimWorld Prep this coming season. Yeah. And then and Jaquan Johnson, he was a recruit that really came on early, kind of flowed off a little bit because of his attitude, kind of shut some people off. But Coach Lovelace obviously doesn't care about a player's attitude. He just cares about if he can get the win or not. So it'll be really interesting to see if Lakeshore Drive is going to be able to get the most out of D'Angelo Jordan and Zay Gore now that Coach Lovelace is gone. And I think that December 29th, there's going to be fireworks. And if because of where it is, I wouldn't be surprised if some of those fireworks were also gunshots. So we'll see when that time comes around.
All to be revealed. That's right.
But as always, I appreciate you being on here with me, and I hope that everybody has a great rest of their weekend.
All right. We'll see you later, folks. Remember that coming out on Monday, scheduling.